Next, here is my favorite part of the show. We get to interview one of Notre Dame's legends, and there may not be a bigger one than our next guest. He was the captain of your 1993 Notre Dame Fighting Irish football team that beat Florida State. He started every one of the 208 NFL games he played in. He's a four-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, and oh, by the way, also a coach now for his son from North Carolina. Please welcome Bryant Young. What's up, Bryant?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing? I'm excited to be here, and certainly it is always great to be on show with fellow Indy alums.
Well, it's an honor to chat with you, Bryant. And I got to tell you, when I was watching the NFL, I was like, I hope I don't go against Bryant Young. I don't know how I'm going to do that, man. He's a Notre Dame guy, but he looks like he does not care on the field. And speaking of one of those times when you were dominant, let's talk about that 1993 Florida State game. What do you remember about that day?
Well, I remember just that week leading up to that game. We saw them on tape and just knew immediately. Even the message that Coach Holtz gave us that it was going to be a tough task ahead of us. And certainly they were bigger, they were stronger, faster, and very athletic football team. But we knew we had our work cut out for us that week to prepare for them. So as a matter of days leading up to that game, it became really instilling confidence in us with the messaging and believing in the game plan, and then us coming together as players to really understand what's at stake. And by the end of the week, we knew, because of the preparation and the confidence that was instilled in us, that we were going to win that football game. And so it lived up to the hype, in my opinion. One versus two. It was fundamentals versus athleticism and just playmakers. And so it was everything that it was built up to be. Exciting game. It went down to the wire. We jumped out ahead of them. There were some big plays made on our part. We played with poise. Didn't play with a lot of didn't play make a lot of mistakes. Eliminated the penalties, and just did a fantastic job playing together. And we wound up holding them off at the end to win that game.
What do you remember about the crowd and the environment separate from the game?
Just, it was unlike any other game that I played at Notre Dame Stadium. It was louder than it had ever been before. There were more people on campus, and you could just feel the vibe in the air. And so when you got in that stadium, it was just like, wow. I mean, it was almost like they brought in extra seats just for that game. There were extra passes. It seemed like on the sideline, everybody and their mom was at that game. And but it was really exciting. You could feel the juice and the energy in that stadium on game day.
Now, as a player for Lou Holtz, did Lou Holtz ever change in these big games? Did that message before games ever change? Or what did he tell you before playing Florida State?
You know what? The messaging didn't change, but he did just help us understand that we definitely had to respect our opponent. They're a good football team, and but we knew what we had in us in terms of the talent, the experience, and then for us to be able to come and play together, that was the most important thing. Like, I don't think we're the most talented, but we played fundamentally sound. We did have some playmakers on our team, but it was just a matter of eliminating the big mistakes and making some big plays in that game.
You talk about experience too. You also got to go to school at Notre Dame. What did going to school at Notre Dame do for you, preparing you for life after and during football?
Just understanding that life isn't about us. It's about service to our community, to people, to the bigger picture. That's one of the things that I really learned. And then just the relationships that I built over the course of my time there. Those are the most lasting relationships that I have in my life. The education, I mean, it's second to none. You work extremely hard in the classroom, and then you work extremely hard on the football field. And so I think it definitely prepares you for life after. And certainly, anything that's thrown your way, if you gone through that experience before at Notre Dame, you can handle anything in life.
Now, Bryant, you also were the seventh pick overall to the San Francisco 49ers. Did you have any pressure at being that seventh pick overall? What was that transition like from superstar in college to the seventh pick overall in the NFL draft?
I didn't feel that pressure. I just for some reason I was real naive to being in that position and understanding and knowing the expectations. I didn't pay attention to any of that. And so for me, it was just business as usual. You block out the noise. You don't listen to the critics because they're going to build you up and they can tear you down. But you just got to, believe in yourself and understand what you're capable of doing. I knew if I went into it just knowing that if I continue to work hard, I sacrifice, and I'll be accountable and responsible to my role as a teammate and to the organization, that it was going to be okay. I was living in the moment. For me, it was just really having fun, and just understanding that, sometimes we could put so much pressure on ourselves to go press and make a play. But for me, it was just, you know what, if I do the work and if I prepare well during the course of the week, everything's going to work itself out. Just get to Sundays and just go out there and have fun.
What was it like? I mean, South Bend and San Francisco might not get any two more opposite cities. I mean, just living life off the field. What was like a moment where you're like, oh, this place is a little different than South Bend?
Oh, it's definitely different. You got the Bay Area, you got all kinds of opportunities and amenities there. You got, Tahoe that's not too far away. You got LA that's about 5 hours south. And of course, the Bay Area offers so much in itself. Just a different environment. You learn so much, you meet different people, you experience different cultures. That was unique for me. I'm coming from Chicago, then the South Bend, and then now it's like this whole entire city. And so for me, it was about taking in everything, the experience, and so embracing things that I hadn't done before. And so, I can honestly say, I grew up, a lot, just getting in the area and not knowing it, but being able to get out of my comfort zone and build some relationships even outside the organization, to really understand that, hey, there's a big world out there, and if we don't take the opportunity to experience it and to grow and relish in it, then we do ourselves a disservice. But it was a unique experience, and just a great opportunity to live in that part of the world.
Well, now you're living on the other coast in North Carolina, coaching your son. What's that experience been like?
It's you know what it's been great. There's a cool dynamic about having the opportunity to coach your son and really wearing two hats. There's the dad hat and then there's the coach hat. And I was a little apprehensive about stepping into that role as his coach, and I wanted to make sure that I asked a couple people how did they handle being a coach and also coaching your son, for those that have done that. And for me, it was the advice that I got was knowing how to take that hat off, that coaching hat, when you get home. There's so much that I could tell him when we're home, but I don't want to drown him out with all the information that I could tell him. And a big part of it is that him understanding that I am dad, and I'm going to be dad, but also when it's coach time, it's go time.
I love that. I love that. And lastly, Bryant, a lot of people of the non-members of the Notre Dame Giving Society watch this show. What can you tell them about the impact they make supporting Notre Dame?
You know what? It's huge. When we think about the opportunity that we can afford student athletes that wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity, your efforts and time, energy, and talent goes a long way. And so we're very appreciative of the contribution that's made to Notre Dame and to its student athletes to help impact lives. And those lives that are impacted, those lives go out and help change and impact other lives.
Well, hey, you have changed and impacted many lives. I told Brian a quick story before we got started. When I went to Kansas City, Alex Smith, the quarterback, came over to me and said, "Hey, my name's Alex Smith. I love Notre Dame guys because of a guy named Bryant Young." So you've made an impact. I'm so glad I got to meet you off the field. I was worried about meeting you on the field, but an amazing 14-year NFL career. I'm thrilled that you get to coach your son. Hopefully, we get you in the Hall of Fame and we get to see that gold jacket on you that you didn't buy. I really believe that's coming for you, Brian. But thank you for all you've done for Notre Dame.
Thank you, Ryan. You take care. Great job, man.